Evening, everybody. Welcome to the stream. Starting in a minute. Not many on tonight. I didn't think there would be. We're 0-0. Just got Matt and Nick. So 6 o'clock. Let's get underway. It's what day is it? Saturday, 19th of December 2020. Welcome to the Seasiders Match Reaction Show. Today I'm joined by Matt and Nick, who are going to talk us through what we've just witnessed at Accrington Stanley away at the Wham Stadium, and I was calling it the Crown Ground, so as far as Andy didn't correct me yesterday. I'm John Aspinall, and this is the Seasiders Podcast Match Reaction Show. Accrington Stanley 0, Blackpool 0. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the Seasiders Podcast Match Reaction Show. Welcome to everyone on the audio pod. If you're listening, out walking your dog, or just washing your car, or just being bored around the house in more lockdown. And joining us on the pod this evening, as ever, is Mr. Nick Smith. Nick, and I'm trying to describe your hair this evening. What's going on with that? So Ian Brown, Captain Caveman.
Yeah, it's not having been able to do anything with it. So I was watching that Boris address, and I thought if he says hairdressers are closing, I'm going to chin him. Thankfully, they're not, and I'm having it cut on Tuesday, and I can't bloody wait. So, yeah, just going to have to bear with it, unfortunately. There's nothing I can do. Well, at least it's not falling out.
Well, yeah. You've got nothing to worry about like Matt and I. Lucky you kind of covered, you're covered up a bit by the overlay there, aren't you? So if you want to stay in that position, you can. I did notice on the news, some woman asked someone's mum, kind of slated Boris Johnson for never brushing his hair and looking like a dosser in official capacities. But as you're not the PM, I'm not that I'm calling you a dosser or anything. But,
thanks.
You know.
You big dosser.
We need to get Tyson Fury on. He's selling jumpers on his website with your big dosser on.
Yeah.
I have a lot of listeners. It's really funny on Twitter. Yeah, you wouldn't think you'd need the money, would you? But hey ho. Joining us is not a dosser. He's Matt Smith. Good evening, Matt.
Well, what a welcome. Thank you.
Everyone comes on this show is not a dosser.
From the slums of South Shore. I'm a bit disappointed. I think you should go for a flock of seagulls look. Those of us of a certain vintage.
Could do, couldn't I?
Yeah, I reckon it's in your capabilities, definitely. It's a shame we haven't got a game on Tuesday, because I reckon that could have been like a bit of a finale.
Yeah. If my stream drops like it normally does on the Saturday show, I'll nip off and get the hair gel out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just go one up from the old something about Mary look.
Yes.
As Ray says there, Nick. No quiff tonight?
No, it's
a quiff, actually. It was a spike, wasn't it?
It was a spike. It's far too long.
Don't mention spikes and Boris.
A rhino. Yeah.
Steve Hutchins says Justin Bieber or what?
Definitely the latter.
Everyone out of this stream, get your Nick
come on,
lookalike. Get your Nick lookalike. Trust me, this is getting more of a laugh and more of an interest in the game we've just watched. So let's crack on with Nick's hair, I think. The Nick's hair podcast. Maybe not.
No.
Right, we've just witnessed Accrington Stanley 0, Blackpool 0. That's as I said in the intro, it's now called the Wham Stadium, I believe. I was calling it the Crown Ground.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, it's always going to be the Crown Ground. It's like every ground that we know because we're old and decrepit, is always, despite sponsorship, is always going to be known by their original sort of names, isn't it? Really, I mean, Andy Holt mentioned it last night, didn't he? He kept calling it the Crown and the Crown Pub and whatever else was alluded to the name. He never once mentioned Wham, and you know, I don't know what that is. Is it sponsored by George Michael? I've no idea.
I have to say, I'm not. I know it brings in much needed revenue, but like you, Matt, I just still refer to them as the traditional name. You know, it's like York. It's something like Kit Kat Crescent, isn't it? And you just think, no,
it's a Four Fingers gag knocking around somewhere, isn't there?
Yeah,
before the watershed. So
yeah, I'll have to take a break on that one.
When I think of Wham, I always think, I don't know, Matt's obviously got a different mindset to me, but I think of that bar. Do you remember that? Like, it was like a sweet bar that used to get in school. It broke your teeth. The bits in it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the reason I've got a few fillings, Wham bars.
Oh, Bisons. This one's a classic. Just harking back to Nick.
I've got no highlights in it. Steady on.
Oh, tremendous.
Limal's bigger brother. The benefit of those that can't see it.
Yeah.
I did have a Limal haircut in about 1986 or something.
Good grief.
Yeah. I'll send you
There'll be people under the age of, 35 that won't have a clue who this Limal. I'll tell you what, they were, for one song, they were massive, weren't they? Absolutely huge.
Yeah. I'm not going to sing it.
Go on, Nick.
Come on, let's talk about this boring 0-0.
Oh, if we must.
It wasn't too boring, actually.
Yeah, as 0-0s go,
it
wasn't that bad, was it? I've seen a lot worse. So let's start with the lineups. Then I'll just get it up on the screen. Let's go with get it there. Let's go with you, Nick. What did you think of the lineups?
Yeah, I was happy enough with it pre-match when I saw that. Obviously, was Viking just dropped and Robson, or did either of them have knocks or anything? I don't know.
There was a bit of conjecture on Twitter. Someone asked Matt Scrafton.
Yeah, it was myself.
Matt, wasn't it?
Yeah, So somebody, me.
Some knobhead's going on about Viking.
Some stalker of Matt Scrafton got in touch with him. And, basically, I sort of said, like, you know, where's Gretarsson and Robson, and he just basically said, I'll find out after the match. And as it stands at 6 o'clock, I don't think we've had a sort of a reaction from the club yet. But it's a bit of an odd one in a way, wasn't it? Sorry, Nick, I'm stealing your thunder a bit here. But...
No, you're okay. I think it is if they were all available and he's just decided to rest them. Maybe you could understand it with Kai. Robson put a shift in the other night, and he did look a bit knackered when he came off. But I think Gretarsson, if he was available and fit, he could probably feel a little bit unfortunate and probably a bit cheesed off not to be involved, because he's been fantastic since he came. And as much as I like Dan Ballard, you know, he is quality. I think that centre half pairing of Gretarsson and Ekpiteta have been. Well, we've talked about them being man of the match, haven't we, the last couple of games? So, that was maybe a bit of a head scratcher, that one, if he was available. But other than that, you know, it's a strong lineup. It was good to see Medine and Yates back in. You know, two wide players, great, and the back four was pretty much what I thought it would be. So, yeah, it's probably not far off our strongest lineup, is it? If not our strongest.
Matt, going back to the 4-4-2 formation, the tried and trusted as we've been championing on here. So were you pleased to see that? I know I was.
Yeah, I think most people would agree that Medine and Yates are the two that we sort of have sort of most faith in. For me, as well as Gretarsson's absence, which we
hang on a minute, is it Gretarsson now?
I don't know. Gretarsson, Dougal. I have no idea. You know, I'll go Gretarsson.
Let's ask Bisons.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, Bisons.
It'll be Gretusson probably. Or Toussaint. Great.
Sorry to interrupt that. Go on.
It's all right. I was actually surprised. Well, initially I was surprised that Matty Virtue was in the starting 11. But then, you forget that. I sort of forget that. Obviously, these guys behind the scenes watch Accrington a lot more than we do, and look at the pitch and look at the way that Accrington play. And Matty Virtue is definitely more of a combative midfielder than, say, Grant Ward or, to a certain extent, Ethan Robson as well. And like I think Nick's mentioned before, Robson had a game only a few days ago, so he was probably a little bit sort of jaded. But equally, Matty Virtue's just coming back from a long-term injury. So yeah, possibly Ballard and Robson could count themselves unfortunate if they weren't injured. But time will tell on that one. As it stands, we're not quite sure, are we?
Nick, were you happy with the 4-4-2 formation? Because there was a lot of pre-match chat in our WhatsApp group about being overloaded in midfield, given they were going into a 3-5-2. So were you worried about that at all? My personal thoughts was we'll play our game rather than worrying about them.
I think that's it. Yeah, I think we need to. I know obviously you need to look at the opposition and consider that, but I think it's our best formation. It's been the most effective. It's got us the best results. So yeah, I was happy with that.
And in answer to our questions, there's
I wondered what he'd come up with. Fair play. Great arson. Brilliant.
So the Vikings obviously been sent back to Valhalla on this game. Can't have been happy, but hey ho. Just Steve Hutchinson said I think it was 2 teams cancelled each other out today. So let's go and have a quick chat about the match itself. Who started the brightest? Matt, come to you first.
Brightest or strongest? I think Accrington were a little bit more sort of first to the ball. They were definitely quicker in moving the ball forward, I thought, and caused us, I wouldn't say problems necessarily, but they were the ones that were on the front foot ever so slightly in the sort of first 15 or 20 minutes. So, once that first 15 or 20 minutes went, though, I thought we got a little bit more into the game and got a little bit more sort of stronger and had our own sort of small half chances as they were. But it was a bit of a slog today, wasn't it? Overall, but you could see why. Talking about the opposition anyway, you could see why they've been unbeaten in however many games it's been or whatever run they've had. And I'm sure they would appreciate why we've gone on the run that we have. So it was always going to be a bit of a tussle and a bit of an arm wrestle. But you could see why teams have struggled against Accrington. They've got a very... they seem to know exactly what they're doing, don't they? I don't think they'll change from anything all season. They'll just play that particular way. They won't go any different formations. They'll play the 2 lads up front who were pretty tricky and strong, and the midfield 5 as it was today are pretty combative, and the back 3 just do what any back 3 should do. They get the ball and they just get it forward as quickly as possible. Quite frankly, so they play to the strengths is what I'm saying. So I thought they were pretty organised and very useful in the first 15 or 20 minutes. Then we sort of got to grips with them a little bit, and then we sort of ended up, I think just about on top as the first half ended, but certainly the first half of the half, they were, they were trouble, I thought, and we've coped well for them. I think prattling on a little bit, but I think that if we were playing them in September, would have probably been 2 down by 25 minutes in.
Without doubt.
Yeah.
It's a decent shout. Nick, so as Matt's alluded to there, it was a kind of a bitty start, but we did hit the post on 26 minutes. Jerry Yates hit the woodwork. Great play from CJ down the right-hand side. It was a decent first-time shot from Jerry and unlucky not to go in.
Yeah, I think that was probably the first time CJ, managed to get to create a chance, and he was out on the wing calling for the ball so much in that first 20 minutes. And the thing that struck me about the first 20, 25 minutes was how poor our passing was.
Do you know, I agree. Do you think it's something to do with the conditions? Because it was a very
Possibly.
skiddy pitch, wasn't it?
Yeah,
There
was a few chances where, or occasions where we could have had decent chances. Like on the break, Medine got it a couple of times and tried to get it out wide, and it just went straight to their player every time. And that's not been a feature of our game, the last 9 or 10 games. So maybe it was the conditions. But going back to the chance, yeah, great work from CJ, and he struck it well, towards the corner, and just unfortunate it wasn't the right side of the post.
Matt, you were nodding along or umming along there about the conditions. So do you think it's obviously affected the game, hasn't it? It's affected our passing game. As Nick said, a lot of passes going astray.
Yeah, I was more sort of nodding and humming along to the fact that the passes were going astray, really. I thought that, excuse me while I cough, I thought that Kenny Dougal and Matty Virtue in particular were just missing, what seemed to be fairly straightforward sort of passes, really. And there were one or two from Medine where you just think one decent pass into CJ Hamilton in particular and would have been on the front foot. And we just seem to be, just off the mark in terms of those particular passes. And conditions wise or not, there weren't difficult passes to make. I don't think, really,
Yeah.
So I don't know, a bit frustrating, I'm sure.
A bit of both, a bit of just inaccurate passing and conditions. So I think two things have just combined to contribute to that. So we've had a decent comment coming in there from Steve Hutchison. Probably played our best spell in the game towards the end of the first half. Just a shout out to the ref. Didn't he let the game flow today? Nick, I'll agree with that in the first half. He let the game flow really well. But in the second half, he flipped it around and he was doing the complete opposite. Stop-start all throughout the game.
He was, and we've had a couple of refs, haven't we, in recent weeks where they've been prepared just to let the game flow, and it makes such a difference. And yeah, we saw both sides of it, didn't we? In each half, first half he was prepared to let it happen, and second half I missed 15 minutes plus of the second half with my stream going down, but second half from what I saw, he just seemed to be blowing up for anything. It was a lot more bitty, but yeah. A game of two halves for the ref, I think.
So going into the second half, gentlemen, just get us on screen again. I'm looking through the list now to try and pick things out in the game. I can't really think of any major incidents. Here's one, Matt. On 61 minutes, fantastic recovery from Ollie Turton to block a shot from McConville, and I was waxing lyrical about Ollie Turton today, and this was actually before this block. Do you want to just did you see that?
Well, I might have had the same problem as Nick at this particular point. My stream had decided to do one for 5 minutes or whatever it was, and on the chat, everyone was sort of very complimentary of this. So you might have to regale this one yourself. I
shall. Right, pressure's on. Solo, all on me. It's all about me. McConville bearing down on goal. Ollie Turton chasing after him, and he just got there just before he was about to pull the trigger. Fantastic block, and just saved a goal. And as Andy Gray used to quite famously say before he was outed as a misogynist, it's as good as a goal.
Oh dear. was there not a chance? Because I had to resort to the WhatsApp chat at this point and AVFTT. Was there not a very good chance for Jerry Yates during that spell when my stream was down? I seem to remember some comments saying great chance for Yates there.
I wouldn't say it was a half chance at best. Ball just squared into him. Ball was under his feet. Wasn't the greatest of pass from CJ down the right side and gave him a lot to do. So I wouldn't really say it was a chance.
Right.
Of sorts. So we made a... Go on.
I was going to say what I would say that today was quite a good game for the defend. Well, not necessarily the defenders, but anybody who likes a good tackle. And you're just harping back to the first few minutes. You remember Matty Virtue had I thought, an absolutely fantastic tackle in the first few minutes, and got the ball and it went out to Hamilton. And the referee blew up for it, didn't he? And it was, given the conditions and all the rest of it, it was a perfectly timed tackle. And okay, you might have had a foot, millimeters off the ground or whatever, but
he won the ball though, didn't he?
Well, he won the ball clearly because obviously it went 15 yards into the where it was intended to go. And then the referee, who at that particular point, like you said earlier, was sort of letting things go and all the rest of it, was quite happy to blow his whistle bizarrely and have a chat with him. Which, if you were going to blow your whistle and stop the game for that sort of tackle in the modern day, it's usually a yellow card, but he didn't do so. A bit. Like I say, it's just a typical inconsistent League One referee, isn't it, really, unfortunately?
Well, it was a strange one in the fact that he didn't give the foul. The the Accrington player obviously realises they're in trouble because the ball's going to go out to Hamilton on the right-hand side. It'd have been a real opportunity for us. And he's gone down like a sack of spuds, screaming and all, holding his shin pad. And it always gets me when players hold the shin pad. It's like, that's what it's for, to protect you. And I know the ref's bought it anyway. He's bottled it and they've got the foul. But I think let's just have a quick chat about Matty Virtue. I thought he had a great game today, biting the challenge all over the pitch, box to box. And I thought Nicky made a real difference today, and it's good to see him back in full fitness almost.
Yeah, I thought he had a good game. We talked a lot about who's the ideal partner alongside Kenny Dougal, and to be fair, Grant Ward has done really well. I think they complement each other very well. But I also thought today was, like Matt said earlier, that it was a game for Matty Virtue. I think conditions in pitch, and he got up and down really well, got stuck in. It was a great tackle. I thought, we're going to have a ref who's thinking it's a red in the modern game because his foot's more than an inch off the ground. But thankfully, he didn't do that, and it wasn't even a yellow because it wasn't a yellow. And he had a good game, and that's what he's all about. So it's just whether he's going to get a run, because he does like to change it about, doesn't he, for his partner alongside Kenny Dougal. But when he's on his game, he's a starter for me, definitely.
Yeah.
And Mike's playing at Accrington as well. I think he scored there twice in the last 2 games, I think.
Yeah, he scored the last minute equaliser, didn't he? When we were on the open terrace, and that scorching hot day. Matt, just quickly. In fact, we'll move on to the game. We'll go on individual player performances at the end. 73 minutes, we made a substitution. Joey Yates off for Besley Barlett on 73 minutes. I know Tim wasn't happy about this in the chat, was he? He was not happy at all. I thought he did all right when he came on. Am I in the minority here?
I think for the game it was, and the type of game it was probably the right player to bring on in a way. It was a scrappy, scruffy sort of a game, wasn't it? And
you expect, he's coming into a game like a pitch like that.
He gives a bit of physicality, doesn't he? And we probably needed a bit more of that up front, perhaps. Maybe that's what he was thinking about bringing him on. He's got a little bit of pace about him, Labala. So let's be honest. It wasn't the sort of game that you would ever think about bringing somebody like Dan Kemp on. So if you're going to bring anybody on, it's probably going to be somebody like Labala. And, I don't think he did necessarily anything wrong when he came on. He was physical. He was strong. It allowed Anderson to sort of drop a little bit deeper and go behind Medina a little bit more. So it gave us that extra person in midfield. And, it sort of nullified what they had to a degree as well. So it was about right, I think, really. Yates was, I think there's certain players that we have in our team that just don't, I don't know, they almost suit certain types of games, don't they? So Yates, I think he's, he prefer everything when it's a little bit more, more pure football. You know what I mean?
It's more suited Medina out of the 2 strikers today.
Yeah.
Coming to you on Besley Barlett, you weren't very happy with that yourself, but he did have a good chance. He'd only been on the pitch 3 minutes, and he had a really good shot in, and that could have, on another day, skidded off the turf and gone in. So I think everyone's giving him a bit of a bum deal here.
Yeah, I didn't say anything on the chat. When you listen to what Matt's just said there, it's a fair point, isn't it? If you look on the bench, you're probably not going to bring Dan Kemp on. And we're not blessed with loads of strikers, are we? It's certainly something we need to address in January, I think, with one more coming in. But when you look at it, it's probably that's why he did it. I don't think we'll necessarily see him coming on from the bench every game, week in, week out, but this was probably one that suited him. And yeah, he did okay. It's just one of those games today, wasn't it, where just it wasn't going to happen for either team, I don't think. Although for a 0-0, I do think it was, it was a reasonable game. There was both teams were trying. I certainly think there was a 10-minute spell in the second half where we were hanging on a bit.
Yeah,
there was a few last ditch challenges, and
the last 10 minutes of the game, pretty much, wasn't it?
Yeah, they flashed a couple of shots. There was one in particular I thought was going to go in.
Dion Charles, just wide.
Yeah, so
when they played that ball, drilled it into the 6-yard box.
All it needed was a slice touch, and it's in the back of the net. So, when you take the conditions into account, I thought the pitch wasn't brilliant. I think have they relayed it in the summer?
I think it's just a torrential rain, to be honest.
It was cutting up a bit, wasn't it? But yeah, I've certainly seen worse. We've seen worse games this season, haven't we? Let's be honest, in terms of no chances created and stuff. So, overall, I was happy with the point, I think.
Yeah, I was. Just a quick comment that's come in from AMAC. Can't really agree about Virtue's just okay, but then none of our midfield deserves special praise. Evan Accrington won that battle. Matt, do you think that's down to the fact that they had more in their midfield than us? I think they were more of a 3-5-2 formation, weren't they?
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, well, I mean, I don't think it's necessarily harsh. I think they definitely won the midfield battle, but I think
they're bound to win it if you've got more in there, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I was just about to say. I think if you've got 5 against 4, then that's generally what happens. And our 4, let's be honest, at least one of those 4, i.e., Hamilton, is quite frankly a bit of a luxury midfielder, isn't he? He's just a winger. He's not a he's not a a hard tackling midfielder by any stretch of the imagination. But I think just to sort of defend what we were saying earlier about Virtue, I think it's more probably to do with the fact that he's just come back from injury and put a shift in, which I suppose when you think about the fact that we were always going to be up against 5 in midfield might make it a little bit more interesting. That why didn't he pick Robson or Robson or Ward?
He's damned if he does, and he's damned if he doesn't.
Yeah, and this is it, and this is what we're sort of learning about Neil Critchley, isn't it? That he's always going to make. He sort of second guesses us every week, doesn't he? At the moment, in terms of what he's going to pick. Yeah. So it is about giving him game time as well, and he knows that.
He's played the full 90 minutes as well, which has got to be good for Virtue as a player himself, isn't it?
Well, no, I think he came off with about 10 to go, mate. Yeah, for Grant Ward. But,
84 minutes, yeah.
But equally, he's put a decent shift in on what seems to be a fairly heavy pitch given the the circumstances. So it'll be good for him, good for the club. Obviously, we've got a week off now before the next game. So, yeah, I can only see Matty Virtue going from strength to strength, but it'll be interesting to see again what he does at the next weekend, because the likes of Grant Ward, Ethan Robson, they'll all be chomping in the bit, to get back involved again.
Bison's coming in on AMAC, then nonsense AMAC. Virtue putting a huge shift today, so there you go. Keep the comments coming in though, listeners. Does help them make the show better. We do read them all. So let's just close the game out now, as Nick alluded to there in his previous chat, that we really were under the cosh for the last 10 minutes. We made our final substitution on 84 minutes. Grant Ward replacing Matty Virtue, Nick. And Grant Ward was tidy when he came on, wasn't he? He didn't do anything spectacular, but he just kept hold of the ball, kept us ticking over, and showed his class, as he always does.
That's what he does. He'll do that for 5 minutes or 90 minutes. And I do think he works very well with Kenny Dougal, who I think today, we talked the other day, didn't we, about whether he was a little bit tired. Again, it wasn't his best game. Maybe, he's not had a pre-season, has he? So it's probably not that much of a surprise that he's not at the level he was a couple of games ago, week in, week out. But yeah, Grant Ward, you know what you get from him. And he did what he normally does when he came on. So, gents, just to the room now, as the final whistle went, just your general thoughts on the game and where we go from here. So, Matt, let's come to you first. General summary.
General summary, I think most of it would have settled for a point before the game. We've got, let's be honest, we're away from home against the what seems to be the second best current form side in the division. So you would always want to get a point. If Accrington Stanley had been replaced by Portsmouth, Sunderland, Peterborough, you'd have taken 0-0 all day long. And I think with 20, 30 minutes to go in the second half, I think it was a case of whoever scores first would have won that game. So I was absolutely, I wouldn't say delighted with the 0-0. How can you be delighted with the 0-0? But you know what I mean. Delighted with the point. I think everything was sort of against us in a way in terms of it was, not. It didn't seem to be the best pitch. It was the worst conditions that were probably played in all year, circumstances are that we've got a very good point away from one of the form teams in the division. So you can't be too disappointed, really. We want to win every match, but that's just not possible, is it? Let's be honest.
Nick, I think it's a mark of how far we've come that some people are a bit disappointed with just a point at Accrington, given the fact that they are in the form they're in, and it's a great point for me.
Yeah, I think if you at the start of the season, it's probably a game that you'd be thinking, right, we're targeting for 3 points, but you've got to give them credit. And they played a couple of games less than most, and look where they are in the league. They're on a decent run, like Matt said. Every player knows what they're doing, and they work really well as a team. So you've got to be happy with the point overall. I think we didn't do enough to win it. They had a couple of really close chances towards the end. And like we said earlier on, I think earlier in the season, we'd have probably been 2 down at half-time and lost that game. So we've showed some battling qualities. It's another side to our game. We've ground out a draw away from home, and not delighted, but I'll take it definitely. They are on a decent run in the form table. So
take the point.
Take the point. Yeah, definitely.
Right, I've just noticed on the Twitter stream that Neil Critchley's post-match interview's on, so let's just have a quick listen to this. Tell me if you can't hear it. It never seems to work then.
Is that one of those afternoons where you take everything into consideration and say, we're happy to just
stick
with the point and move on?
Yeah, probably by the end of the game. Wasn't a great spectacle in terms of free-flowing football, but I thought we're 10 out of 10 for character and spirit. Could have made better use of some of the attacking moments we had. So disappointed on that side. But until the end of the game, I thought we defended the goal and defended as a team extremely well. And to come to obviously a team like Accrington, who are in form, in the conditions today, swirling wind and rain, and I thought, really pleased with that side of the game. So happy with a point. It's a clean sheet, and we now look forward to Rochdale on Boxing Day.
You mentioned that side of the game when it is swirling wind and rain, and Accrington a side that can really do that side really well. You must be delighted with the way the team fronted up to that.
Yeah, they do. They get a lot of balls forward quickly, and they play into the strikers, into the back line. They get the ball forward. They get the ball in the box. They work for set pieces. They get long throws in the box, and it's very, very difficult to play against. You have to fight that the whole game, which I thought we did extremely well. I say just a little bit disappointed. We had 1 or 2 moments in the first half. We hit the post, and Gary had a chance on a counter-attack. But we thought second half it would open up a little bit more. And if we made more use of those moments, we felt we could cause them a few problems, and we didn't manage to do that. They got on top of us near the end of the game, but we saw the game out well. So it's a point, it's a clean sheet, and it is a difficult place to come to, and they're in good form. So we move on now.
Yeah, clear-cut chances in isolation, but probably the both of them were to Jerry Yates, weren't they? Well, that one first half with the post, like you said, and the one second half on the break.
Yeah, and that was that's the type of moments we thought we would get in the second half. We probably didn't get as many as what we thought we were going to. Our quality was just let us down a little bit, and that was a big moment. And we failed in those moments all the way through the game. Really, you're looking for that moment, that one moment of quality or brilliance from one of your front four or any one of the players, and we didn't provide that, unfortunately, today.
when you've got a player like Dan Ballard returning from injury, and you've got Matty Virtue playing his first league start. A boggy pitch like this is a real good test to see where they're at, isn't it?
Yeah. And I thought both of them were give really good performances. Extremely difficult game for Matty to come into, but I know, the type of person that he is and what he gives you on the pitch. And I thought, considering he's not played all season, and to put him into a game like this shows the trust and faith I've got in him. And I thought he was excellent. He tired a little bit, but that's understandable. All the players tired. It's like you say, the pitch was, a factor in that. And Danny Ballard stepped back into the team after a few weeks away, and I thought he was fantastic. I thought he played like a real colossus at the back there. Some of his heading from corners, and I thought he was terrific.
No game now Tuesday. Is it about utilising this week the best you can?
Yeah. Some of the players will obviously get a little bit of rest. Some of the players will obviously need more training. The ones who haven't played today, we've got an extra game which we've organised because some of the players need to play. We can freshen up a little bit, but keep in momentum, keep that training, keep it going, because we've got an important game at home now against Rochdale.
Refreshingly honest there was Mr. Critchley. I think he focused on kind of the not lack of quality, but lack of quality in the final ball. I think that's probably a fair assessment, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's what we talked about earlier, wasn't it? Particularly first half, there was those stray passes, and we didn't. We could have used the ball better, and they probably edged it in that respect in terms of the better chances in the game. But the positives are we've ground out a result, a draw against a form team. So I thought it was a fair assessment.
Matt, your thoughts on Mr. Critchley?
Yeah, I think from my perspective, I think you've just got to think about how far we've come from when we played Gillingham away, because that was sort of like a yardstick for me. Similar sort of side, they know what they're doing. They typically sort of lead one, sort of up and out of them and all that sort of carry on. And obviously, we got schooled at Gillingham, whereas today we were a bit more, sort of worldly wise, and we got a point out the game away from home, which is, as good as what you would expect, especially with Accrington's current form. So I think we've come a long way as a squad and a team. So I think it's it's another positive step, really, as far as I can see, really.
So just having a quick look at the league table. So we're still 12th. We seem to be constantly 12th. 27 points. Fleetwood lost. They drew, did they? I thought they were winning. They weren't.
Last minute equaliser for Wigan.
Oh, what a shame.
Nappers was gutted.
You'll see that thing on Twitter that was going around when he was celebrating.
Hull's equaliser.
Yeah. Yeah, you set yourself up, aren't you, if you're doing that and you're live streaming it. That's why I don't do these silly match day live things. Right, match rating, player ratings, gentlemen. So this is always a good part of the show. It's one of my favourite little bits. So let's kick off with the goalkeeper, which was Chris Maxwell, and let's start with Matt.
This is going to be quite a difficult one, really, or a very quick sort of. I think you could probably put 6s and 7s across the board, really. I don't think there's anybody particularly outstanding. Although, for me personally, I thought, apart from literally, I think 1 maybe kick out, maybe 2, I thought Maxwell was excellent today. I thought he caught everything that he needed to, especially on the crosses late on. So actually, he's going to be my man of the match today. But normally you give him man of the match 9 out of 10, but I'm only going to give him 7 because it was just that one of those games where nobody sort of really stood out. I thought he was pretty much solid and did exactly what he needed to do. So yeah, 7 out of 10 and my man of the match. Which if somebody gives somebody else 8 out of 10, then that's fine. But there you go.
Yeah, man of the match. Chris Maxwell. This. If you look at this, it looks like you're Chris Maxwell looking on the video graphic.
Well, I'm Chris Maxwell.
Yeah, look, yeah.
Do I need to get
banner?
Hang on.
Get pink top.
It's not quite pink, but it's the best I can do in the circumstances. It's sort of burgundy.
Excellent. Right, Nick.
It's minty green. They keep calling it, don't they? On the
There was
commentary?
two shades of green today, wasn't there?
Yeah,
There was
yeah,
mint
yeah.
green and there was sort of a slightly less garish
Anyway.
green. Right, over to you, Ollie Turton. I mean, Nick.
I am going to give him an 8 because I thought he was the standout defender for me. I thought he had a very good game today. A couple of really good tackles. It was tough conditions, and they were, like Matt said, up and at him and getting the ball forward. And I thought he coped with it all really well. He does get some criticism sometimes about his attributes going forward, but first and foremost, he is a defender, and I thought he defended well today. So 8 out of 10 for me.
Let's pick this view's better, isn't it, for doing this segment? You see all three of us side by side. Right.
Why are you taller than everybody else, John? Come on.
I'm stood up. I'm stood up down. I'm not bobbing up and down like.
Anybody who knows it in real life, John's only 5'2" if you've ever met him.
It's like Ronnie Corbett.
Language, Nicholas. Right, who's doing Big Marv?
You.
Do you want me to do it?
Well, there's only 3 of us. Me and Matt
Go on
have
then.
done one.
Big Marv, a colossus. I think Ballard got described as that by Mr. Critchley in that presser. But I thought Ekpiteta was fantastic today. I have been knocking him in the past. Again, I'll hold my hands up and say, yeah, he had a great game, solid, made some brilliant last-ditch tackles, a few really good sliding tackles, which are always good to see. So, yeah, I'll give Big Marv an 8, I think. Really good at the back. Dan Ballard next. Oh, I've got a graphic for him. Don't think I have, Right, Dan Ballard, who's next in line?
That's me.
Right, you wax lyrical about Dan, and I'll try and
Yeah,
frantically upload his banner.
Okay, mate. I think for as the gaffer alluded to earlier, the fact he's just come in, hasn't he, from weeks out, and when you see Gretson out and Ballard in, you're just not worried, are you? And I think now it works the other way around, doesn't it? I think in the first couple of games, you think, oh no, Ballard's out and Gretson's. Any of those 3, I think, will do a good job for us now at centre half. So, yeah, I thought Ballard was solid. Don't remember him doing anything wrong. So, a good solid. And I can't give anybody more than 7 out of 10 just because of what I said earlier about Chris Maxwell. So I'll give him a 7 out of 10 because he just did everything right, really. Didn't do an awful lot wrong at all. And I'll just add on about Big Marv as well. I thought he had another excellent game. There was just that one little tackle towards the end, wasn't there, when he just gave a free kick outside the area where he didn't need to. But that aside, yeah, I think Danny Ballard was as solid as his partner, which is always good to see.
I'm just going to get you two to do these because I can't multitask and bring up graphics and think at the same time. So, I'm a man. I see steam coming out of my head in a minute. Does anyone like my new shirt, by the way? Got it on eBay.
Don't like the sponsor.
Yeah. I like it because it's tangerine. Man. Classic shit. I digress. Anyway, Luke Garbett, Nick.
Yeah, solid performance. It's a clean sheet, so you can't be too harsh on the defence. He gives us options going forward with his set piece delivery. And he's someone I think, we've had a debate, haven't we, in the fullback positions, whether it's Husband or Garbett, and I think he offers us more overall. And he's a starter for me week in, week out, I think, ahead of Husband. I'm going to go 7 out of 10.
No disagreements from me, Nick. I don't think from Matt either. If Phil was on air, he'd be disagreeing, wouldn't he?
Yeah, I'll just add that with about 5 or 6 minutes to go, we had a free kick, didn't we, fairly central, which Garbett was over, and commentary and ourselves, I'm sure, we're just thinking, come on, Luke, this would be a great opportunity, sort of thing, wouldn't it? And all right, it didn't work out, but you're not going to have that opportunity if he's not on the pitch, and I think that's exactly what Nick said. He brings that and gives that extra little thing, doesn't he, to the
The
side?
the
hopefully.
extra je ne sais quoi to our dead ball and crossfield balls into the box corners and that. So, what was the rating anyway?
7.
Seven.
7.
7. Kenny Dougal, Matt. Not his most effective performance, but busy and getting his foot in as usual.
Yeah, it's odd, isn't it? Really, I think Tim's jinxed him when he said to the. It was I can't remember who it was. It was Steve from Oxford, wasn't
He
it?
said he's the best midfielder.
He's the
in
best midfielder in League One, and he's just been fairly average. Let's say that since. So it's all Tim's fault, and it wasn't one of his better games. But equally, if you're playing in the midfield against 3 players instead of 2 players, you're always going to be a bit up against it. So you can't be sort of too harsh against him. But there was 2 or 3 opportunities where he could have just put Hamilton through in particular, and he just didn't seem to find that pass today, did he? Where he's normally, he's just normally A1 with that, isn't he? So I don't think that comes down to tiredness necessarily. I think it's just just not being on the game for whatever reason. He's a human at the end of the day. He's not a
On the
robot.
pitch.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I mean, it's still a, from Kenny Dougal's perspective, he's still a 7 out of 10, isn't he?
Are you all missing Tim tonight, listeners? Let us know in the comments. He's ponced off having another little meal. Not like us hardcore.
We just drink all the time.
I'm not drinking. I'm actually drinking water. I had quite a lot of drinks from. I went to
He was
that.
cheating.
This isn't just Coke.
That's right. Where were we? Matty Virtue. Who's next up on the chopping block or the rating block?
So as I said before, I thought he had a good game. He put a shift in, difficult conditions, and it was a Matty Virtue type of game for me. He'll roll his sleeves up and, he gets up and down the pitch. I think if we're giving Kenny Dougal a 7 and he wasn't quite on his game, do I go? I'd maybe push it to an 8 for Matty Virtue.
Yeah,
I think he was one of the better performers on the pitch.
If Tim was here, he'd be trying to give a 7 plus, wouldn't he?
7 plus. 7.35.
Just a quick funny story. My mum, I spoke to my mum today. I was because I said that she spotted this on. She was watching. I told you didn't on the WhatsApp chat. Basically, listeners, viewers, off on a tangent. My mum discovered that our show that we do because she just looks at videos of Blackpool, the town, old trams and shite like that. And she got suggested to watch one of our videos, and it was the one where we were taking the piss out of Tim about something. I can't remember what it was. Probably that or something. And she said, "You were really horrible to that man." She said, "I bet he got upset."
He's fairly thick-skinned.
He is.
It's banter.
I think it was when we were slating him for when his mic wasn't working on the last show.
It was the space stage coming Polton, wasn't it?
That was the one. It made me laugh anyway. Matt, CJ Hamilton, in and out of the game today, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was basically starved of possession, wasn't he? Really, it wasn't his sort of game in a way. Difficult, really. I mean, it was the only time I remember him getting involved was when Yates hit the post, and he sort of managed to sort of smuggle the ball off their left sort of centre half and put the ball into Jerry Yates. But other than that, he didn't do an awful lot. But equally,
didn't get the ball, did he?
He didn't get the ball. No, exactly. And everything that we've been good about this year has generally been because we've got the ball to him. And it wasn't that he himself played badly. It was just the service, as we've just mentioned, just wasn't good enough. But unfortunately, as a result of that, he was pretty anonymous. So I think for the first time this year, I'm going to have to give it a 6 out of 10.
Fair shout. I think Keshi, Nick, the same can apply to what we've just said there. I think really.
Yeah, it's a bit what Matt just said, and apply it to Keshi. Yeah. Not necessarily his fault. It just wasn't that type of game, was it? Where we were getting the ball out wide. He did okay. I'm not going to be too critical, but at the same time, I can't say, we've not talked about loads of chances he's created either. So I'll go with 60.
6.37.
Yeah, 6.29 out of 10.
Taking the piss out of him again. We're going to have a lawsuit against him bullying. He'll be representing himself. Goal machine, Gary Medine to Tim, Matt.
Yeah, I think he did all right today. He was buffeted around, wasn't he, by their various centre halves, and stood his ground a lot. He had a well, it wasn't a chance, was it? He flashed one past the post when it was actually offside, apparently, before.
Oh yes,
before he did that in the first half, wasn't it? But the thing is with Medina, I think we've all sort of grown to. Well, I have personally, I've sort of grown to love what he brings to the side now.
You need to have a player like him in the team. I'm always a fan of having a big man up there.
And I think if we didn't have him today, we'd have really struggled. I'll be honest. I think they would have properly bullied us all around the pitch. So it's a 7 out of 10 performance. But unfortunately, I'm not able to sort of. Tell everyone about great chances he had or anything else. But it was a good, solid, good 90 minutes performance off him, really. So there you go, 7 out of 10.
And finally, Nicholas, Jerry Yates. In and out, Jerry Yates.
Yeah, he's hit the post, hasn't he? First half with that chance, struck it well and a bit unlucky not to score. But other than that, struggling a bit, really. It's probably another 7-ish. 6.79 out of 10.
6 and 4 thirds.
If I was to rate, I'd say 6.33 recurring. Maybe 6.66 recurring, so then you can round it off to 7, can't you? So,
yeah.
Finally, before we go, Tim's lighting on the pod looks like a scene from Fright Night. It's always really dark, isn't it? Has anyone noticed that?
Mm.
Yeah. He's tight. You don't put the Alecki on.
That's right.
No, it's all going on those posh lights that light up his 78-inch TV in his kitchen.
And his extractor, Nick. He's that weird extractor
fan. And his wine fridge.
Yeah. And he's got a tap that has boiling water coming straight out of it. Instant boiling water. And he's got this.
What's wrong with the kettle?
Oh,
and I was amazed at that instant, but it's like seeing a plane for the first time or something. I was like, boiling water out of a tap.
I was equally impressed, Nick, with his extractor that kind of... There's an extractor, but it doesn't extract from above. It extracts it from the level where
it rises out of the work surface, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Honestly, it's like being in a Bond villain's lair, Tim's kitchen. You press a button, and it's like you've initiated some sort of launch sequence. You're like, what's going on there? This rising up out the ground, amazing.
Yeah, when we went into his kitchen, he was sat on a swivel chair looking outside,
stroking a cat.
Did you have a
Mr. Smith, I see you've discovered the extractor fan.
Yes, I've been expecting you, Mr. Gin and Tonic.
We're only messing, Tim. I'm very jealous of your kitchen.
Mr. Aspinall, we've been expecting you. Oh, right. I think we'll turn it in now. We said it'll be only 45 minutes, but we're nearly at an hour. So next up, we were supposed to be playing Sunderland on Tuesday, weren't we? But that's been COVIDed. Has it been COVIDed? That's the reason, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the next time, viewers, listeners, etc., we will coming back to you. It'll have been Christmas Day and it'll be Boxing Day, Rochdale at home. So I think it's be remiss of me not to say Merry Christmas. Thanks for everyone to watching. Thanks for everyone who's been supporting us. It's going to be a weird Christmas, isn't it?
Very.
Yeah, it is. And obviously, Boris has cancelled it for many of us. Oh, well, not many of us. Many people down further south than ourselves. So it's just a one-day affair now, isn't it, really? So we'll see what happens. But I don't think that's going to change much in our household, I'll be honest. I think it's just a case of battening down the hatches and getting on with it, really.
I think, Nick, just drink heavily and eat heavily. I think that's the best way to get through it, isn't it?
Yeah, normal weekend.
Yeah, just a standard week.
As you were.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just with a Santa hat on.
Yeah, it's my birthday on the 27th, and I never do
Really?
anything because I'm bloody knackered usually by then. But this year, I think it could be slightly different in that I might actually be awake and have a few more drinks. But it just depends on the football calendar, really, because obviously we play on Boxing Day, and then I don't know who plays on the 27th. But
We've got
sure
Shrewsbury.
I'm sure there's
Shrewsbury.
something on the old Sky Boxy or whatever to keep me going.
But just talking about Rochdale, they're a bit of a funny side, aren't they? I think they got spanked at home last night by Gillingham, but the game before that, did they win? Was it 5-0 at
5-0 away at Wigan.
Wigan? Yeah. Oh, I know Wigan are struggling, but yeah, and then they go and lose 4-1 at home. So hopefully it's the side that played last night that turn up on Boxing Day.
Yeah, I do feel just going on about Accrington that there might be a side that have been lucky with injuries and all the rest of it so far. You know, it's a long old season, isn't it? And you know, you feel with our squad that if we do get one of those or one or two additions in the central sort of striking position, that you know we're not far off one of those teams that are unfortunate enough that we've got almost two in every position. Whereas other League One sides might sort of time hopefully from our perspective might sort of catch up.
Yeah, I mean, look at the quality we had coming off the bench today. We had Grant Ward coming on and various other options. So I think Matt has hit the nail on the head there. We've got a lot to look forward to with this strength in depth that we've got, and I think Nick, with the fact we've got games coming thick and fast, we're well prepared, aren't we, for the second half of the season?
Definitely, and we can see what Neil Critchley's doing with the way he's rotating players here and there in certain positions. He's got that end of the season in mind, hasn't he? How many games there are to come? Saturday, Tuesday, although we've not got Tuesday night, obviously, because of Sunderland COVID situation. But yeah, 1 or 2 in January. It just needs tweaks for me. Not, we don't need to be signing half a dozen. We've got what just come up on the comment there from Bison.
On the screen, Nick.
On the screen, yes. The best squad in the division. And I think he's right in terms of the strength in depth. We've virtually got, one or two players for every position. It's about January for me. It's get Ballard signed up to the end of the season.
One more striker.
Get a striker in. And if you were being greedy, maybe somebody to push Maxwell, because I don't think the other two necessarily will do at the moment. They're probably both a bit too young for that. So, but yeah, a lot of positives and a lot to look forward to, definitely.
Certainly is. So, gents, just go around the room. Rochdale match predictions. Let's come to you first, Matt. Get your predictions in on the chat as well, listeners. Let's see what you fancy. Over to you now, Matt.
I mean, it's funny, really. I feel as though Rochdale seems to be one of those sides that either do well or do badly, and hopefully they'll do badly against us. And equally, I think we're still due to give somebody a right good spanking. Yeah. I feel, I'm going to be really ultra positive and go a really solid 3-0.
I was going to say that.
I was.
All right, well, we'll all go 3-0 then.
I'm going to go 4 then, just to be a little bit more positive. I think, like you said, Matt, if it clicks, then we're due to give someone a real tonking, and let's hope it's Rochdale. So I'll go 4-0.
I'll go 3-0 then. I want to stick with my initial gut reaction, which was 3-0. A few of the listeners' comments coming in. Steve Hutchinson says 2-0. I just flicked it on before. Bison said 4-0. That's Humphreys 3-1. AMAC 5-0. So it's going to be about 2-0 to Rochdale then, isn't it?
Yeah, probably.
Oh, kid's turned up, Matt.
Hey,
kid.
Right, kid. Granddad kid.
Is he a granddad now?
Yeah, 2 years of granddad. 2 years of granddad. Yeah.
Bloody hell.
He won't say he doesn't look old enough, but I'm not so sure. Hope you're well,
Right.
kid.
Ray Ray 4-0 Christmas special. MB just says Merry Christmas, lads. So yeah, Merry Christmas back to you, everyone.
And you and everyone else.
So Merry Christmas to all the listeners out there. Thanks ever so much for watching this. Thanks for downloading on the audio pod. Get the music going. So thanks for all your support this year. It's been great to get. Well, we're not over the year yet, so just Merry Christmas, I guess. Have a good one, everybody. Drink plenty, eat plenty, and just do
Stay
all that.
safe.
Yeah, stay safe. Do all that on Christmas Day, and see all your loved ones safely, I guess. And that all remains to be said is thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks for downloading on the audio pod, and up the food.
Change the world. A small town from the north of England with a great tradition.